morning, and welcome to a special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and I am joined by one half of the team. Normally, the team is with myself, Letitia Sharp, and Norman Clement. But Norman Clement is a little under the weather today, so we are very fortunate to still have the exquisite, elaborate, and efficient Letitia Sharp in the studio with us this morning. Miss Sharp, it is a pleasure to have you here with me today.
Good morning, Darwin. How are you?
I'm doing well. This has been a real interesting last couple of days for me, only because of the fact that most of you know that I'm a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and we have what's called SANS. SANS are the people that pledged with us, and one of my SANS, we buried him yesterday, and it was just interesting because one of the guys that made me up at Michigan State, he had an accident where he was at a gas station and he slipped and fell and hit his head, and he transitioned. So, just a sad day in the house of Gamma Tau. That was the name of our chapter up at Michigan State. So he was from Flint, and his name was Grave Wallace. So our hearts, our prayers, condolences go out to the Wallace family. And also my SANS, his name was Dr. Michael DeVito Brooks. And he was in Southfield, Virginia. So he was tried to retire he was a OBGYN, and they pulled him back in and said, hey, we got prisoners in the area that he lived in. And so he was the director of patient care at a couple of correctional facilities, in the city where he was at. So just sad, trying to go through we do what's called an Omega ceremony for, our fallen brothers. And when we did the Omega ceremony at Cole's Funeral Home Monday night, just a, very sad, solemn, occasion. Had to look at his son, who looks like he could have spit him out, as they call it, But everybody really just, got together and celebrated his life. And then at the homegoing service yesterday over at People's Community Church, and it was officiated by another good friend of mine, Dr. Charmaine Johnson, and she did an outstanding job, with officiating the services for Michael. So
I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences to that family. It's always hard,
Yeah, and it makes it rough, especially for the family, for the widow, for the, family and friends. So Dr. Jeffrey Gillum, who went to med school with Michael, he got up and he talked about Michael and from the days when they were at Wayne State Medical School and all of the things that, occurred, commonality between the two of them.
Right.
And so he really gave a very powerful testimony about Michael and all the things that he had done, throughout his life, and how much he really loved his widow, Emily, and his children. Family. So it was just something, to kind of listen to that part. But I'm hoping that your world, Letitia, has a lot of other activity, so I know when you come on the show, you're usually upbeat. You usually have a lot of good activity that's going on. So when people want to call in and, to the show and they need to ask information about Washtenaw County, Miss Letitia Sharp is the person that they can call and get that information. Well, that might be with some people, that might be more than they know. So that's why people call in to get the information from Truth to Power. But what's happening out in Washtenaw County?
Well, first, condolences to your friend and his family. And
Appreciate it.
Like I said, In Washtenaw County, well, I'm a little tired today. I mean, it's election season, so we're all canvassing and going out talking to folks. It's no secret I'm a candidate in Washtenaw County. But I was thinking about something that Donovan McKinney said on our show a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was just last week, that we have to think about the entire ticket. And so when you're out and you're knocking on doors and you're talking to people, and I don't know if it's just me or some of the community is still kind of confused as to who's doing what on the it seemed like on the Democratic side of the in my area in Washtenaw County. So I find myself having to explain, we're all one ticket, one party, and there's no separation. And so I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have, our first conversation, because I just want a little direction. Because as I'm knocking on doors, I want to be able to make sure that we're all delivering the same message. But there's a lot of information out there. So I want to, like I said, if I know, I want everybody else to know. So I have, there's a lot of information that's coming to Washtenaw County, but I believe it's the same information that's spread out.
And
through,
like Wayne County.
Wayne County and Oakland County. And I just want to say, I'm going to look into the camera and say, Michigan is a swing state. We cannot take anything for granted. We cannot, every vote counts, every ballot counts, and every person counts. If you're eligible to vote, if you think you're eligible to vote, please check now. You don't even have to wait till November 5th. You can register today, and you can cast your absentee ballot. You can do early voting on October, is it the 26th?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's so many opportunities for you to vote. Please don't sit home. And also do not believe when people come and tell you something that you know is not true. So we have a lot of information out. I bought some here today that I want to reference with our first guest. But we have a lot of information out. The Democratic Party puts out information. The Harris campaign puts out information, but it's all the same information. We're all in the same family, and we're all rooting for the same thing: top of the ticket to the bottom of the ticket. So yeah, I said before, we're not going to sleep until November 6th. So we're up, and we're going to do this. We're going to fight. We're going to keep fighting, and
we're going to fight till we win.
Yeah, we're going to fight till we win.
And Letitia, you said something very profound, because the main thing is that you want to look at the top of the ticket all the way down to the bottom of the ticket,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to make certain that you flip your ballots over.
Yes,
because that's the problem sometimes that some people have,
right?
Where they may miss the judges that a lot of times on the reverse side of the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
They may miss some of the proposals that's
Mm-hmm.
on the ballot. They also may miss some of the people that are running for like school board.
Right.
That's on the reverse side of the ballot.
Right.
We know usually the top is usually like the, in some cases, it's either like the Senate race, it's either the presidential race, or it could be the gubernatorial race.
Right.
That's on the top.
Right.
But then, and then when you look at the other races that are going on, then that's the thing that sometimes happens at the same time.
Right.
We know just how important this race is.
Yes.
We know that there was things that happened, years past that may have been a little bit interesting
Mm-hmm.
in terms of say where we can't take anything for granted.
Right. No.
We got to campaign, and we got to campaign hard all the way up until
Right.
November the 5th.
Right.
And not to have anything that we take for granted or leave any stone unturned.
That's
because
true.
we have to go and make certain that we go into areas that may have a low propensity to vote and really talk to them.
Right.
Let them know how important their vote means to this campaign.
Right.
And the other thing is that we have to make certain that everybody understands their vote counts.
Exactly.
Regardless of where you at, where you live at, your socioeconomic stand,
Right.
whether or not you've even voted in the past.
Right.
And the other thing too is that you've got to look at democracy.
Right.
Because this is a race that really is contingent upon making certain that everybody
right
is able to go and have their voices heard. So just as you were saying, Letitia, even if you have to, if you can't vote on election day,
right,
you can vote prior to.
There's so
the
many other
absentee ballots,
opportunities.
as well as and one thing I want to say too, before we get started, is that a lot of people don't understand about what the absentee ballots.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you may have gotten your absentee ballot has been mailed to you, or you picked one up. But the thing is that if you do have an absentee ballot,
right,
it would not be advised to put it in the mail.
Right.
It would be more advised to go
take
and take it
to
on
down there.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to do that. Don't take anything for granted, because this is not a normal election. We
Correct.
have to understand that. And there is a clear choice in this election. That's what this brochure says. It's at the top of this brochure, and it is a clear choice. On one side of the ballot, we have Vice President Harris fighting for working families. That's clear. On the other side of the ballot, we have Donald Trump with his extreme agenda. Clear choice. One side of the ballot, you got somebody who's lowering healthcare costs, who's protecting the rights to choose, and who's creating nearly 16 million jobs. And on the other side, you got a pledge to be a dictator from day one, who's bragging about overturning Roe, who gets Social Security, who guts out Social Security and medical care, Medicare, and who will raise taxes on middle class families. So this is a clear choice, and since it's a clear choice, we have to vote.
There's choices that people have to make.
Right.
A lot of people are talking about Project 2025.
Right.
And that's something in terms of say that people are pretty much like kind of getting more acquainted with. And as our esteemed congressman from South Carolina, Congressman Jim Clyburn said, Project 2025 is like Jim Crow 2.0. And there's a lot of things. We did this. I belong to a group called Building Black Brickmasters.
Right.
We had a forum that we did at the Shrine of the Black Madonna on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did the forum, we talked about Project 2025
mm-hmm.
and how Project 2025 was imperative. So that's the key thing, Letitia, is that we wanted to make certain that people were educated about
right.
Project 2025.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that people understood the different dynamics of what 2025 and what 2025 could do if President 45 also becomes President 47.
Right. I mean, like we said, it's a clear choice. He's already told you. He wrote it all out. It's all kind of a script to a play, right? You have this play. And so when for all the undecided voters, maybe you should look at it from the perspective of what impact is it going to have on my life and my family and my neighborhood, my children, the future of my children? Because Project 2025, should it take its wings and fly, that is going to impact our generations moving forward. They said, look, sometimes maybe 4 generations ahead. So we have to think like that. We can't think like this is just a 4-year election, and if he wins, I mean, if he wins or she wins, this is for election. It's not gonna make a difference. No, if Donald Trump wins this election, it's gonna affect our families for, they said, like 3 generations out, our children and our grandchildren and their children. So that's how serious this election is. And I'm sorry that we're having the difficulty getting Mr. Fawkes on, because I kind of wanted to talk to him about the strategies put behind the difference between this election, because he's been, like you said, he's a political strategist. He's been doing this for a really, really long time. And so I wanted to kind of get his feel, like, because this election is so important and is so different than any other election that I'm sure he's been in. I kind of wanted to get his feel of what's the what's the push that we can do to support this campaign that we never have been asked to do before? We've been asked to knock on doors and canvass for folks before, but what does he need us to do now? Because, like we said, this is an unusual election.
That's a great point, because as we know, Letitia, that the people from the Trump campaign as well as from the Harris campaign have been pretty much like doing campaign stops
right
here in the state of Michigan.
Right.
We understand when we had Senator Cory Booker on the
right.
show with us, a few weeks ago, was that Michigan is a very, very important state for both parties to be able to garner the support from. And we know that Michigan, has a lot of people that are Trump supporters.
Right.
And they also have people that are Harris supporters.
Right.
So it's a matter of trying to get to those people that are undecided.
You know what? I want to say this too. You know what I found out in my canvassing? And I know it's happening here in Wayne County, probably Oakland County, probably across Washtenaw County. There has been, but in my little area in Washtenaw County, there has been an fluctuation of Trump supporters, Trump literature, Trump signs, Trump going into neighborhoods that you would have not normally seen any of them in.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
So when you look at those individuals with the Trump literature or on lawns of Trump supporters, are those individuals, and I'm everybody knows I'm trying to kind of see, both sides of it, but are they people that look like us, or are these people that don't look like us?
I have to honestly say I don't know if any Trump signs are in yards of people who look like me and you. But I can honestly say that there has been a captivating audience and attention given to those who have been asked to carry literature, who've been asked to convince others who look like us. So yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. And I believe in I'm always trying to educate people, because like I said, if I know it, I want you to know it. So now it's two people that know. And I do think that they're using whatever excuse, because I'm telling you, the lies, it's just troubling. And that's what's being out there. And so our brothers, we sat here on many shows before, our Black men have an issue, and I don't know if it's just in that community or our community or across the state. I'm not sure what the issue is, because that's kind of what I wanted to talk to Mr. Fawkes about too, is how do we get people, we need them to get, don't sit out on this one. We need them to vote. And how do we need them to vote? And look at the candidates. That's what I'm saying. That's the scary part. If there was two reasonable candidates in this race, I can understand the hesitation, but there isn't. There's only one.
It's like a night and day,
right,
between the two.
Reliable, reasonable, ready to hit the ground person who cares about all of us. And you got the other one who cares about his chosen few, and that's what scares me.
Well, and I think it's almost like a opportunity for you to decide between something that's tasteful and something that's just palatable.
Right.
And it's not to cast any dispersions on any candidate, but the main thing is that if you know what the outcome can be from one candidate and you don't know what the outcome would be from the other candidate, because people can say one thing trying to get your support, and then when they get in office, they could just change totally and do a 180 and just flip. So that's the key thing that you need to, but again, as we've always said in the past, make sure that you do your homework and research candidates. But we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're hoping that we will be joined by another guest that's from the great state of California. So again, you're watching Truth to Power. My special guest today is Miss Letitia Sharp, and we'll be right back.
I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Your radio is now on TV. Your TV is now on radio. WHPR 88.1 FM can now be heard and seen worldwide. The same platform that hosts all of your favorite content now has WHPR TV and radio. Have your own radio or TV show on Roku with approximately 8 million homes. Debut your music video, clothing line, church ministry, plays, or products. A limited number of slots are available, so act now. For more information, visit RokuDetroit.com or call 313-868-6612. You heard about it. Now come be a part of it. Roku Detroit worldwide. Approximately 8 million viewers. TV 33 is moving to WHPS TV channel 15.2. Make sure to rescan the channels on your TV. Then go to WHPS channel 15.2 to pick up TV 33 and all of your favorite shows. The move is on, and we want you to move with us to WHPS channel 15.2.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
All righty, and you are watching Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we're joined by Miss Letitia Sharp.
Hello.
And, you know, there, as we know, Letitia, there's so much that's going on, not just here in Wayne County and Washtenaw County and other counties, and I know you've got something that you wanted to address.
Yes. I just wanted to remind folks that there's a good piece of literature. It's a voting guide, and it's online. And it's mivoter.org. And you can put, you just go to that, you download it, you put your address in, and it will show you your ballot, your candidates, your polling places that you go. You can have it right on your phone. I have, and it's issued by the MichiganDims.com. That's who put this together. But I've used it, and I've also sent it to all my friends, and this is across Michigan. So you just put your address in, and it kind of gives you your information. You can help those. So that needs the information. So mivoter.org.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, and the other thing that we don't want to leave out from talking about getting people to get out to the polls,
right,
is that we want to tell people not just take your souls to the polls, but take other souls to the polls. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she was telling me that they do a take 10.
Right.
And their take 10 is that one person goes to the polls, and then he or she then is instrumental in getting 10 more people to go to the polls. And then each of those individuals takes 10 people on their own volition. So it's like the power of 10.
Exactly.
And that's something that, you know, if you can get commitment from 10 other voters to say, yes, I'm going to the polls to cast my ballot, then have them do a personal commitment to do the same thing, we wouldn't have the apathy that we've had in the past in some elections.
Right.
Because if you've got all these individuals that are registered to vote, you want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to cast their ballot, not just some people. And see, in Detroit, there's a lot of registered voters that may decide, well, the candidate doesn't need my vote.
Oh, yeah.
I know they're going to win. They just automatically assume that the person's going to get reelected again. So if they don't have to get out there and vote, fine. Right. Or even in some cases, it could be a race where it could be someone that is saying the same thing.
Right.
So the main thing is make no assumptions about any candidate. Make no assumptions about what's called safe seats. There aren't safe seats.
No.
There's all seats are optional where somebody can come in and take that seat.
Right.
And now you even have people that are on the ballot now that are write-in candidates.
Right.
So those individuals, from my understanding, they have to go through, they just can't automatically write their names. They still have to go through the clerk's office.
Right.
And let the clerk's office know that they were, requesting to be a write-in candidate, on the ballot. So the thing is that take people to the polls and get them to commit to take other people to the polls.
Right.
And that's something that we do with A. Philip Randolph Institute. We will be taking people to the polls on election day, but we will also be taking people to the polls, especially seniors that may have a physical limitation to be able to get to the polls. We're also going to be taking them when early voting starts.
Right. Right.
So we can take them to the polls to cast a ballot. And even if they have an absentee ballot that they don't want to put in the mail, as we're not recommending people to do, because with snail mail and sometimes that ballot may not get to the election, commission until after the election is over with, that we want to make certain that if you do want to cast your ballot, we will come by and then pick you up and take you to the polls to cast your ballot.
Right.
And then the other thing too, somebody asked me an interesting question, Letitia, was that if they take their ballot, where the people sometimes stand outside the polling precincts with those baskets, so that you could go and actually put it in the basket.
Now you guys have baskets, because we have locked. You can't. It's a locked.
Well, they actually
box.
have workers standing there out in front, so that they could come and actually put their ballot and give it to an actual person instead of putting it in a box. So that's the thing. And they were asking me about that. And I know that's not in all cases, but there are a few places where you can do that.
Right.
And
you can too track your ballot too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's something that, people need to go online to find out, to track that ballot, to see where that ballot is at and to see that they get it. Because that's the other thing that people are concerned about and that's another reason why people sometimes may be a little disenfranchised about wanting
Right.
to get out there, because they may not know exactly how their ballot is tracked. And they don't realize how elaborate now the election commission is to make certain that they can track ballots
Right.
so that
Yeah,
your
yeah.
vote does matter. That's why every vote is important, because there's so much that they're trying to do to discourage people
Right.
to get out and vote.
Right.
And all this money that they're putting in to try and discourage people, that you got to realize, if voting wasn't that important, why would they be putting in
That's what
so
I
much
always say.
money to try and get you not to vote?
Right. Right.
And they understand how important, especially trying to get in some of the low propensity areas that may not have the inclination to want to get out there and vote. And then also looking at people that may think in terms of say that the vote doesn't matter. And we really are trying to push, especially a lot of disenfranchised Black voters, and especially young voters,
Right.
that get a lot of misinformation and thinking that, well, one party is not going to do such and such or something and another party will. I'm still hearing people that are talking about the stimulus checks that people got years past. And they in turn thought that because the stimulus checks had President Donald Trump's name on it,
Right.
that is who issued the checks.
Right.
And they didn't realize this was Congress,
Right.
not
Right.
Donald Trump,
Right.
that issued those checks, but
Right.
it was Congress that
Right.
passed
And it's
those
just
bills
not
to do that.
knowing, not understanding, and just not being conscious of how government really works and where you get your support from in government.
But that's where, Letitia, that people don't really realize civic engagement
Exactly.
is very, very critical, because they've taken civics out of some of the classrooms. And people don't quite understand, especially like when we did our forum this past Saturday
Yes.
about the 3 branches of government,
Right.
and not knowing about the judicial, the executive, and the legislative branches. And then not understanding, especially, how important those judicial races are.
But if you don't understand, and you're counting on a person who has going to give you the right information, or a person who's going to give you the wrong information because they know that you don't understand. That's what I was talking about power, and I'm giving you this information and I know you don't understand. So you're vulnerable to me. I can lie or I can tell you the truth. And that's what's happening here in this case. That's what's happening in a lot of the cases across, Michigan, across the country, really, is I'm going to tell you, I know that you don't know, and I'm going to tell you either the truth or a lie. It depends on who I am and what my personal agenda is.
And the sad part about it, those lies can spread.
And and people be like, oh, I heard this. And I always say, there's a race, in Washtenaw County, and it's the treasurer's race. And one of the opponents is actually telling people that they could lower their taxes. And that sounds really good because everybody wants lower taxes. But there's no authority given to the county treasurer that will allow the county treasurer to lower people's property taxes. But it's a great soundbite, right? That's, like you said, that's the wrong level of government. They don't control the millages or anything like that, but it sounds good. So if you deliver that on an ear that doesn't know, then you might garner a vote based on just not knowing.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
the crucial part, because knowing is important.
You got to know.
Especially when it comes down to the ballots and who's on the ballot
Right.
and the information that's on the ballot that you need to be able to decipher.
Like when in a debate, remember we talked a couple weeks ago about the vice president debate, and they were talking about how the vice president doesn't make policy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you tell somebody who doesn't know that, they'll say, oh, she never made any policy, because you don't know that that's not her role in government, right?
Right.
But it sounds like she hasn't made any policies, so that's what I mean by, you just got to be careful and trust the information that you get, but look on the back and see where you got it from, because it's so much trickery out there, Darwin. It really is. And And I'm gonna keep saying it. You keep saying it, and I'm, sure if our other third counterpart was here, he said, we can't sleep on this. We got to stay woke. You said that last week. You got to stay woke. And we got to treat this election with urgency. And that's one of the things when our guest gets here, everybody's treating it with urgency. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to be critical right there, that we do that part.
Right.
But we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back,
Yes.
we will hopefully have an opportunity to go and speak with our other guests
Perfect.
that'll be on the show with us. You're watching Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, with my special guest today, my co-host, Tisha Sharp.
See you in a
We'll be
minute.
right back. And you are watching Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and this is my co-host, Miss Letitia Sharp, and we are joined in the studio by, I think, one of the firmest handshakes that an elected official
She
could
mean
ever
business.
give anybody. I mean, I'm an alpha, and we shake hands with our alpha brothers, but I'm shaking this young lady's hand, and I'm like, wow, she has got
She
a
not here to
firm.
play. She
I mean,
said, "Look."
it makes you think that she's a candidate that means business. Whatever she says, she means business. But there's probably very few people that don't know who our special guest is in the studio today, and she is the Honorable Senator from the great state of California, and that is Honorable LaFonza Butler. Am I
Thank you
saying?
so much. Yes, you got it.
Okay,
You got
okay.
it. You
Because
got it.
I was about to say, I want to get another one of those firm handshakes once we can, complete this interview with you today. But Senator Butler, we are very, very pleased to have you here to join us on Truth to Power today.
It's an honor to be here.
And we know that this is a very important election that's coming up. And I know you and the vice president have a history with each other because she was one of the people that was there during your swearing in.
Yeah.
So talk about that in terms of, say, how Vice President Kamala Harris and what she means to you and what she could mean to the country once this Democratic Party elects their new president.
Thank you so much for the question. I've known the vice president for nearly 15 years.
Okay.
Well before the rest of America knew her. I knew her and got to know her as a public servant in the state of California. She was the district attorney in San Francisco, and she wanted to become the state's attorney general. I was a union leader. I worked in the labor movement for 20 years. And
you were with SEIU.
I was with SEIU.
Okay.
I appreciate your purple and gold today. It's just
well, it's kind of interesting because I know SEIU is purple and gold.
Exactly.
So I know that.
I
That's kind of why I wore that today.
I appreciate
Even though I'm an
it.
alpha, I'm black and gold, but I did respect
You got black in there somewhere, I'm
There
sure.
you go.
But my local was headquartered in Los Angeles. She's from San Francisco. And so we just got to know each other. She was trying to build a reputation for herself and a constituent voter base in Southern California. And, over the last 15 years, we just have been in each other's lives. My daughter has known her whole life. My daughter's 10 years old. When she was going to run for the Senate, when she made her decision in 2019 to run for the presidency, I was there. The night she decided to withdraw from the presidency, I was by her side when I made different career decisions. When the governor offered to appoint me to the United States Senate, she was one of the first calls that I made. So we just have been in each other's lives, and I have seen who the vice president is as a person, and have gotten to know her up close over many, many years. And so the opportunity that we have in front of us could not be clearer to me. And you know, in 27 days, we'll find out which direction the American people want to go in.
Well, I want to ask you a question before I let Letitia ask you a question. I want to ask this question to you. There are a lot of myths that are out here when it comes down to Vice President Harris. What is the myths that you can dispel after all of the time that you've known her? What are some of the myths that you can dispel that the voter may have about her before they cast this important ballot?
Yeah, there's the myth that she locked up thousands of black men in California on marijuana possession when she was Attorney General. It's just not true. It's fundamentally not true. I worked with the vice president when she was Attorney General. You know the things that she was working on? She was working on a homeowner's Bill of Rights to protect homeowners in the state of California as she was battling the big banks to get some fairness after the Great Recession. She was working on legislation to require body cameras for the California Highway Patrol. She was working with community members and police officers to make sure that transnational gangs weren't exploiting migrant children who were being trafficked into our state. She was working on trying to find ways to get more low-level drug offenders released and working with the criminal justice reform community to do that work. And so, it's one of the things that aggravates me to no end, the repetition of that story. I saw her work with unions and their apprenticeship program to get those young men who were returning from our justice system into the apprenticeship programs and into parenting training so that they could get back into the lives of their kids and have decent employment where they could raise their families. It is one of the most aggravating myths that's out there, and it's not even misinformation or disinformation or even a myth. In some ways, just a flat out lie. And I just, my mother raised me to call a thing, and it is a flat out lie. And it is not who she is as a person or a leader at all.
That's what we were talking about really before you came, is how sometimes in this particular race and how serious this is, we have the other side that can tell a lie and look you straight in your face and know it's a lie and hope that you don't have enough information that you can disseminate that was a lie. One of the pieces of information that I have in front of me here says this is a clear choice in this election. We know it. I heard it in your passion. We know it's a clear choice. We have a candidate that's more than qualified, and then we have another side that shouldn't even be on the ballot. What do you think the hesitation is? Is it really because she's a black woman?
Look, I think folks are going to have to decide that for themselves if they're willing to tell themselves the truth. Like, look, they say to, pundits out there say that people want to know more about her policies. Well, she's now put out a comprehensive economic plan. She just yesterday announced a part of expanding our Medicare program to make sure that our seniors and families who are providing for children and their parents are able to actually get their in-home care services covered by Medicare. The other side has said to all of us in their debate that he doesn't have a plan for health care. He has concepts, even though he's had 10 years to work on it. And so it can't be a policy argument, in my opinion. So if you take away policy, people say that they don't know her. She's been on the ballot now for just over 80 days. She has worked hard to make sure that she's introducing herself to the American people. She took the responsibility of doing the debate with her opponent. She's offered to do another debate with her opponent to continue to introduce herself to the American people. But despite that, she's going on 60 Minutes. She's doing all of the top podcasts. She's doing all of the media interviews. So people, it's not the policy. It's not that they haven't gotten the opportunity to get to know her admittedly over a really fast timeline. There are only so many things that are left.
Right.
And so, I think people got to be honest with themselves. It can't be that she wore blue today. Because, I have on blue. I like blue. maybe it's because she doesn't have a purple suit. I'm not sure, but people
Right.
have got to really be able to be honest with themselves about what it is that's holding them back and figure out ways that we could actually help get them the information that they need.
And I'm just going to say this, that whatever decision we make, it's going to last. Would you agree that the decision that we make on the 5th or the decision that's made on the 5th, the impact of that decision is either going to hinder us for 3 generations out? It's going to impact us anyway.
Yeah.
So what do you say to those folks that say, it's just this election, it's not a big deal if he gets in another 4 years?
Yeah. Look, I say to anyone who's thinking about sitting this one out, to really think long and hard. This is a side of our politics who have said that they are prepared to eliminate the federal Department of Education. They are prepared to eliminate Head Start programs that we know get our children a healthy start to school. They have said that they are prepared to eliminate FEMA. They are prepared to eliminate Social Security. They are prepared to conduct mass deportations and roundups all across this country. They are prepared to put their entire economic plan are tariffs on the goods and goods that we actually use every single day. Economists say increasing the cost of living for families up to $4,000 a year. And so these are not small things. And even if today, we feel like, it's those aren't things that matter to me. I don't have a child. Well, that those families in North Carolina and South Carolina and those who are looking at Hurricane Milton staring at them in Florida are grateful that there is a FEMA that's going to be there. And so, look, these are today's decision. The decision that voters are going to be making over the next 27 days, because some voters already have their ballots. Right. And the decisions that people are going to be making over the next 27 days are as much about today as it is about the next 20 years. What kind of future do we want our children to have? What kind of planet do we want them to inherit? What is it that we actually think is fair for them to be able to learn and to explore and where to worship and who to worship? Right. And so, yes, these are going to have long lasting impacts. And it's not just about the immediate, but it's about the future of our country and the future of our families and communities.
Wonderful. And I know, Senator, that your background is in healthcare. And in terms of what you were doing with SEIU and trying to help in terms of especially the senior population. But we know that there's possible cuts that may be made to Medicare, to Medicaid, to Social Security, if the Republicans may get into the office again. What do you say to the seniors, especially those in the senior citizen facilities, the assisted care? What do you say to those individuals that may be thinking about, I don't know whether or not if I am or I'm not. What do you say to them? Yeah, and especially because your passion, what you had,
I'm so
them.
Grateful for our seniors. The lessons that they teach all of us, whether they're in a senior living facility or able to stay in their communities, their mere presence shows to our young people that they just got to keep living, right? And life will come and will happen, and there are amazing things that we can accomplish. What I would say to our seniors who may not have free access to their ballot locations or thinking about whether or not this election is gonna matter to them. This is one of the elections I think that is likely to matter the most to this community. Again, you have one side of the argument that has made it clear that they are prepared to give corporate tax breaks to the wealthiest among us, and at the same time to cut Social Security for seniors.
Wow.
You have folks, you have the other side who is prepared to, put tariffs on the very goods that our seniors need. That's their only economic plan. And they're going to put tariffs on those goods, raising the price of our seniors who are already on a fixed income. Right. And so to our seniors who are thinking that this is an election that they maybe can skip out on. I want to first thank them for not skipping out on any of the elections that they've always voted in. And I want to encourage them to keep being the example that our young leaders need, that it is about committing to our civic participation. And I want to encourage them to vote not just for the person on the ticket, but to vote for both their future and honoring their past, and voting for the young person who they still are an example for.
Well, and that's the thing, because we know that Michigan is a swing state, as people are saying. And we know that there's a lot of people that are, such as yourself and other, elected officials that are going around the country. We've had Cory Booker on the show. We've had Jim Clyburn on the show. We've had a number of people that have come, on the show. And all the people that come are really trying to let people know this is not one to sleep on. This is something that everybody's vote matters. And we know that you are here to go and help to push the narrative to vote. And the main thing is that Michigan, being such a swing state, could go either way. What do you tell folks, especially in terms of, say, because we know there's Wisconsin, we know there's other states that are really important to get the messaging out. How much traveling are you doing? I mean, you're all the way here on the other side of the country, in California. How much other, because we see how important, because I've never seen this many people come out and come to Michigan. And we know, too, that Vice President Harris and number 45, they're going to have a lot of people that are going to be here in the state of Michigan. What else is there to do? We don't want to leave any stone unturned.
Yeah, we are not leaving any stone unturned, and most importantly, we are not leaving any voter untouched. I have been to North Carolina, Georgia. This is my second trip to Michigan. I've been to Nevada since the vice president took the top of the ticket, and I want to make sure that we are not just telling people what to be afraid of, but inspiring people on what we can accomplish when we choose to do it together. That's the vision that the vice president is putting forward, a way to unite this country and help us to imagine again the amazing things that we can accomplish as the American people. It is not to say that we are not flawed as a nation. It is not to say that any of our leaders are perfect. But the way that we have always made progress towards perfection is when the American people lock arms and choose to do it together. That is the inspiring opportunity that is in front of us. And I think that the American people are going to choose that new way forward, and be very clear about who they are fighting for, what they are fighting for, and what they dream about. For themselves, for their families, and their communities. This is the moment where that is going to get defined. This is the election where that is going to be crystallized in so many ways. And I am going to do everything I can and go to every state I need to make sure that everyone knows that this is an opportunity for our children, not just my daughter, but for America's daughters and her sons, to once again know that this is the most amazing country in the world. And they can make it, they can do their part to make it better.
Well, I know we have to take a commercial break. We are really hoping that you can stay on with us.
Absolutely.
After, we come back from break, because I know there's a lot of questions that Letitia gives me that look like, I got 1,000 more questions I want to ask you. But we're hoping that you can stay on. So we will take a quick break. You're watching Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, with my special co-host, Letitia Sharp. And again, we are joined by the Honorable Senator from the great state of California, LaFonza Butler. I'm going to make sure I keep saying it right. I'm going to keep practicing that over and over again. But stay tuned. We'll be back with Senator Butler in a few.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we are joined also by my co-host, Ms. Letitia Sharp, and we are joined by the Honorable Senator from the great state of California, Senator LaFonza Butler.
Yes.
We are here with you today because you have several other states and several other cities in those states that you're going to be joining. What is the messaging that you are going to do in terms of, say, with the next stop that you make? Are you stopping at other places here? And I know you're in Highland Park here now, in the Detroit area, but what other cities are you going to stop in here in the state of Michigan?
A week ago, I was in Flint with the vice president's sister, actually, and Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist,
right,
talking about the importance of reproductive freedom. And I intend to be in and around the sort of greater Detroit area all day today. I'm going to head down to Cleveland tonight because what good is electing a vice president if we don't give her a Congress to actually work with to be able to deliver on the promises that she is making on her campaigns. And so to me, it's a both and strategy, and it's one of those both and trips. But voters across the country, whether I'm in North Carolina or Georgia, here in Michigan, or out in Las Vegas, or my home state of California, talking to me about the importance of this election, how they all feel like there's so much at stake, and even those who haven't yet, decided if whether or not they're going to vote or who they're going to vote for, know that this is an election that just feels different.
Right, and it is different. It's that comfortability. We're not comfortable, and we shouldn't be comfortable. I'm hearing you saying we shouldn't get comfortable until the 6th, when we can all congratulate our president and get her. I say until then, we have a thing here on the show where we say we were not going to sleep until November 6th. We can't get tired.
There is no tired. I literally sent a text message to a friend of mine and said, "I'm not tired. You tired?" So there is no tired. And because of so much work that has been done in states across the country to expand access to the ballot, to give people the opportunity to mail in their ballots, we may not know exactly on the 6th what the outcome of the election is. And I think that's also an important point that we want to make sure that voters appreciate. My home state of California, we have nearly 30 million registered voters. Right. And so we need to give our Secretary of State time to process all of those votes. If we hope that it is it's such a big victory, such a large margin that we know. But that we know on the night of the 5th. But we may not. And so I think that's the great part about what has happened in some states across the country, getting those seniors the opportunity to get those ballots mailed in from their senior living facilities. There's going to be a lot of things that we know and a lot of things that we don't, and we just have to give our democracy the time that it needs to actually make sure that every vote is counted.
Well, it's so interesting because, I keep saying to a lot of people that are running that it's her story, not his story, that's getting ready to be made on November the 5th.
Yeah.
And as a lot of people say to me, it's like, Darwin, this is the year of the woman. it's always been the year of the woman. It hasn't just started
I would
this year.
agree.
It's always been the year of the woman. I don't know why somebody is telling me something different.
Right.
Yeah.
And just like in, with your appointment to,
Yeah.
from Gavin Newsom to be in this position
Mhm.
as senator, and now looking at the legacy that you're leaving for your daughter
Yeah.
to see, and then also your mother
Yeah.
can get an opportunity to see her daughter.
Yeah.
Now, your daughter can see her mother. And I
Yeah.
mean, it goes on and on and on to see that legacy
Yeah.
that's being transcended. And now, people that thought years ago they would never see a black president,
Yeah.
Right.
especially a male in
Yeah.
that position. And now, here we're on the precipice of seeing the possibility of a female
Yeah.
being the president of these United States.
Yeah.
And I saw people when they saw Obama, when President Obama was elected, and I saw, Gail and Oprah and, in the park, and everybody was shedding tears. How would that make you feel when your friend gets elected to
Yeah.
be president of these United States?
That is such. I have not allowed myself to imagine that far, but I appreciate you so much for asking the question, Darwin. I am the granddaughter of a strawberry sharecropper. My grandfather had polio, and couldn't do a whole lot of work, but he and my grandmother raised 11 children.
Wow.
Him as working as a part-time mechanic, sharecropping, and my grandmother being a domestic worker cleaning homes until she was able to get her education to be a certified nursing assistant. And they raised 11 children off that. My mother is number 6. There are 5 older than her, 5 younger than her. And so when I raised my right hand and put my left hand on the Bible on the floor of the Senate chamber, knowing that my mother was there with only the second black woman to be in that chamber and the first black woman to grace the halls of the White House as vice president, was an amazing, amazing feeling. It was surreal. And I am committed to working as hard as I am, as I've talked with your listeners about, on behalf of Vice President Harris, because I know what kind of leader she is. And I'm excited to be able to say to my daughter that the woman who has always challenged her to be the best leader she could be, who's always pushed her to be kind and be courageous and not ask for permission to lead. These are the things that the vice president has said to my daughter, who's 10, her whole life. It is, I can't imagine the immense emotion that I will feel on election night, or when it is declared that she will be our country's next president. It is going to be, I think, an amazing demonstration to the rest of the world, the progress that this country has made.
We talked about, while we were on break, we were talking about the passion. And I said, I was listening to the senator speak, and I said, everyone who's come and spoken on behalf of the vice president has spoken with this passion in their voice about her, about who she is, because they know her personally. And I said, we get to see her on television, but you really know who she is.
Yeah.
And it's the same person. And so we feel like we know her,
Yeah.
right? But I want you to speak a little bit about, we talked about her passion.
Yeah.
Talk about her experience and her leadership, because they're all grouped together, and what an awesome opportunity we have, including those 3 things.
Yeah. She is, I've always known her to be truly committed to other people. Mm-hmm. I have never seen her make a selfish decision. I have been in rooms where she has had to make incredibly difficult decisions. And the first question she would always ask the staff or even me is, what does it mean to the person closest to it? What does that feel like for them? What time does that worker have to wake up in the morning to get their day started, to get their work done? What time does their baby get home from school? These are the kinds of questions that I have seen her ask, not who is going to make the most money.
Mhm.
Not, well, who's for it and who's against it. She always starts with the people. And that is fundamentally who she is. So you put that kind of person together with a leader who is unafraid. I have seen her with the nerves of steel. This is a woman who has taken on the biggest banks in the world to deliver for California homeowners. This is a woman who has prosecuted cases against transnational gangs like MS-13, stood and looked them in the face and locked them up. Right? So this is a woman whose courage is unquestioned in terms of her leadership, and then the opportunity that we have to put someone who has courage and determination and commitment, who's committed to the people of this country, in the position as the most powerful leader in the world. What an amazing opportunity for America.
That is.
What an amazing opportunity for America.
Yes.
Well, we are plum pleased pleasure to have
I
you
know.
join us here at Watkins Broadcast at WHPR today, and anytime, Senator, that you are in the great state of Michigan, please come back to this studio here in Highland Park, Michigan, and we'd love to have you come back on again.
It's a date.
Yes.
Well, when you say that, I'm like, hey, it touches me right here.
It
Darwin, don't you
does.
threaten me with a good time. Don't you threaten me with a good time. We'll be back. I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to having you. And again, we definitely wish you safe travels,
Yes.
to and from around the state, as well as on your way back to
Oh,
California.
Thank you so
again,
much.
yeah.
We are plum pleased pleasure to have had the great senator from
Yes.
the phenomenal state of California, Senator LaFonza Butler, on our show. And we definitely want to give you and everyone in the great state of California our best wishes.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
again.
Safe
Thank you.
travels to you.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we will be back with Truth to Power with my co-host, Ms. Letitia Sharp.
Yes.
See you soon.
Have you ever wanted your own TV show? Have you dreamed of showcasing your talent for the world to see? Well, now you can. Have your own TV show. You can have your own 30-minute show. Not only will you be seen in the Detroit area, but you can be viewed worldwide. For more information, call 313-868-6612. Visit our studios and receive a free TV interview to promote your business, church, or organization by appointment only.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabria, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All media platforms are engaged. Copy.
Get ready to launch your show or product.
Periscope ready. We're 5x5 ready to launch. Copy that.
Trend worldwide across all major platforms.
Ignition. 3, 2, 1.
The world is waiting. Watkins Broadcasting. More than just TV.
And we are live on Truth to Power, and we have had a phenomenal time with the Honorable Senator from the great state of California, Senator LaFonza Butler.
Yes, we
And
did.
She was awesome.
She was
awesome.
She was awesome.
You know, Letitia, there are elected officials, and then there are public servants.
Exactly.
And she struck me as a dedicated, true public servant.
Right.
And it's obvious that she's used to meeting and greeting a lot of people, but it seems like she has a reservoir of energy,
Right.
a reservoir of passion
Right.
that it's like, regardless of whether or not, if it's the 24th hour or the first hour, that she's out and about on the campaign trail, you know, trying to assist her good friend Kamala Harris
Right.
with becoming the first African-American female as president of the United States. And her passion is so genuine. And, you know, and we're praying that all of the places that she goes to, that she will go and I'm sure sway a lot of voters to think like she does, that Vice President Harris will make a great commander-in-chief for the next 4 to 8 years, depending on how long she decides that she wants to stay in that position. And again, it's her story. And this is, we're on the precipice of having history, her story, made in the White House.
Right. And, you know, I was, you know, because I was sitting here next to her and I talked to her.
I could see the electricity in the room with the two of you. I could see that.
It was what I felt in some of the words she was saying. Actually, all the words she was saying is, you know, President or Vice President Harris, she always talks about she only had one client, and that was the people. And like you said, to be a public servant, you have to have a spirit for people. And so the passion, now the reason I asked her about passion, experience, and leadership, I wanted her to talk about that passion, that same passion that she talked about, Cory Booker talked about, and all the other folks that's come here and they talked on behalf of our president or our vice president, soon to be president, that you have to have that passion for the people, because if you don't, that's how you don't make policies, or you don't, stop or revoke some policies and then create policy. And I think that that's what I was feeling here. I was feeling how she just talked about her as a person who cares about people. And who more would you want to be president of the United States than somebody who feels like that? And that she talked about her history and how she's talking to a 10-year-old about how to live her life. You know, that's not just her 10-year-old, but that's to every 10-year-old. Right. Kamala Harris talks to people. She makes everyone feel like they can be more than what they are now. They can live a better life now. I love the opportunity. You have an opportunity. A lot of us never had that. She's going to give us that.
Well, you know, I look and see greatness.
Yes.
And just as you're saying, we've had many people in the studio with us. Mm-hmm. And we can also see the greatness in them. But today, I see a very, very promising future.
Yes.
For Senator Butler. And I think that she, from what I've seen, you know, just in the short time that she was with us today, is that she will make an impact on so many young women that may have dealt with a lot of obstacles in their lives, and they may deal with obstacles, right, you know, in their future.
Right.
But I see her giving people the strength. I see people that will get encouraged by her. And I think people will realize she brings hope, right, to a lot of people she comes in contact with.
Right. And all of these, this is an opportunity now in history that we can look at a photo years from now and all of us Black women who are creating history in our own way, we will become a portrait that our young Black girls will look at, and they will see a new set of history makers, right? And so that's what I see with her. That's what I see with Kamala. And actually, that's what I see with myself. I'm just saying, you know, that if you're making history and some little Black girl, like her grandfather was a strawberry sharecropper, she said, and then Kamala Harris's story that came from not a family of wealth. And this is where they are in life now at this age. That's a beautiful story. So it tells me and every little other girl out there, boy out there who wasn't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, you can too. You can too.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of mothers that look at their daughters and they wonder what their daughters will grow up and be. And in some mothers that may have the opportunity to give them as much, if not more, than they had,
right?
You know, when they were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that we encourage people to do is to read.
Read.
That's important, you know, and understand, just as we were talking about before our guest came into the studio, is that understand civic engagement.
Right.
Understand civics.
Right.
Understand the power of your vote.
Exactly.
And why all votes matter. But we're about to wrap up, so you know, unless there was something real quick, you got
one more shout out, mivoters.org.
Okay, that was quick.
Yeah,
couldn't get any quicker than that. Well, we have been joined by the Honorable Senator from the great state of California, Senator LaFonza Butler, and we also, you know, we were having some difficulties in terms of, say, with trying to get our other guest on the show, and that was Quinton Folks, and he's the campaign manager and political strategist for the Harris Walz campaign. But on behalf of my co-host today, Ms. Letitia Sharp,
yes,
Tim Smith, Henry Tyler, Maxine Willis, and of course, RJ Watkins, you have been watching Truth to Power, and we look forward to seeing you in the very, very near future. Have a great rest of the day.